Good evening, folks. Welcome or welcome back again to Golem Telly. I am your host, the magical Mr. E. Now, since starting Golem Telly a couple of months ago, I've taken a look at all sorts of things, including some vintage computer games magazines. I've browsed through a copy of Zap 64 and one of C&VG, but let's be honest, we've really only just started to scratch the surface. And I think it's time we started to dig a little bit deeper. And the magazine that I'm going to be reading tonight is the January 1986 issue of Commodore User. You know how this works by now. Let's take this over to camera 2. Let's stick it under the retroscope. And let's zoom in. Okay everybody, here we go again. Look at this. It's Commodore User magazine from January 1986. When I say January 1986, it's the January 1986 issue, which means it would have been out in December. So technically, this is a Christmas special. Doesn't look very Christmassy, but that's all right, doesn't matter. And as you can see on the front cover, it's Rambo versus Commando. This is what war looks like, folks. Look at the way they're staring at each other. Who is the hardest? Well, we're going to find out tonight. I think it's Rambo. I mean, look, he doesn't need anything other than a knife. He's got his knife, whereas the Commando on the right-hand side, it's Super Joe, isn't it, by the way? That's his name, Super Joe? Yeah, I think it is. Anyway, look at Super Joe. He's got a machine gun, he's got grenades, he's got a helmet. Rambo doesn't need any of that stuff. He just needs a knife and a headband. They both came out around about the same time towards the end of 1985. I'll tell you what, they're both brilliant. Which is the best though? I'm going to go with Rambo because it's my favourite. We'll get into that soon enough. Now what else can we see on the front cover? There's a competition. You can win the never-ending story. And there are reviews of Superman, that wasn't very good. Friday the 13th, that wasn't very good either. And Gyroscope, which was okay. But look at this. You get a free Commodore 64 music Flexi-disc. Where is it, you're asking? Calm down, it's here, look. Commodore User, make music on the 64 featuring Heaven 17, the advanced music system. You play this at 33 1/3 RPM. This was a Flexi disc that was attached to the front cover of this issue. Do you remember Flexi discs on the front cover of magazines? How cool were they? You don't get them anymore, or do you? Actually, everyone loves vinyl again nowadays, don't they? So maybe you do get Flexi discs on the front cover of magazines nowadays, I don't know. Let me know in the comments. You know what we should do, don't you? We should play this right now. I've got a record player, you know. It's right next to the telly. Shall we put it on? Shall we spin the disc? Yeah, let's do it. Come on, let's go. Okie dokie, folks, here we are over by the record player. And I've got the Flexi disc all lined up. Shall we spin the disc? Yeah, let's give it a go. Here we go. Ooh.
Hello.
Hello.
And welcome. This Flexi-disc has been put together for Commodore User by Rainbird Software and Island Logic.
Okay.
It'll demonstrate just what's possible when you put together a Commodore 64, the music system, and Heaven 17.
Oh my god, anything's possible. Oh, okay, this is more like it. I was a bit worried for a minute. Yeah. Can I click along? Come on, everybody. I can see where this is going now.
Key to the World.
Ooh.
A specially recorded track from Heaven 17's
Key to the World.
Cap LP.
Oh, it's from their album, is it?
Advanced Music System, a new music studio program for the Commodore 64.
Ooh, that sounded a bit Zelda-y, didn't it?
17 have used computers on nearly all their records, including the hit single Crushed by the Wheels of Industry.
Oh, what a song. Oh, is this it? Oh my god. Crushed by the Wheels of Industry? Seriously? Oh, this is going to be great. How does it go? All the same. Yeah, I remember it now. If you want to play. All right. Some are workers, some are not. We're in the nation now. Yeah! Okay, get ready for the chorus. This is going to be amazing. Of industry, crushed by the wheels of industry. Ooh, ooh. Oh, that's amazing.
Computers are commonplace in the high-tech world of the recording studio. For controlling instruments and creating complex sounds and patterns, they're virtually invaluable.
Right.
The music program you're hearing can do all these things and has powerful control over the Commodore's inbuilt synthesizer as well as MIDI capabilities.
I can believe it.
Now listen to this. This is our version of Temptation.
Oh! Yes! Try to understand. Come on, everyone. That certain feeling caught by another's hand. No, but it's too late to hesitate. We can't keep on living like this. Temptation. Temptation. Terrible features. This is amazing. This has made my day. Does it do the whole song, do you reckon? Yeah, I think it is. I think it's going to do it, the whole song. This must be nearly finished by now, actually. Temptation, take it or leave it. Temptation. I'm not going to do this bit. I can't get that high. Can you? Amazing. Oh, I love this so much. What a combination. Heaven 17, a Commodore 64, a Flexi-disc on the front cover of a magazine. It's just, this is perfection, isn't it? This is paradise. I love the 80s. I wish they could come back. I'm going to bring them back. Here on Golem Telly. That's my mission.
If you want to find out more about what is possible on your Commodore, don't miss the 64 Sounds Guide inside this month's issue.
Okay, let's check it out. All right, you ready, guys? That was amazing. This must be the end now, yeah?
You've been listening to 3 Heaven 17 tracks, recorded with the aid of the advanced music system from Rainbird Software, and brought to you exclusively by Commodore User.
Yeah, thank you.
My name's Tony Selinger, and thank you for listening.
Cheers, Tony. Awesome. Awesome. Wow. Okay, that was brilliant. Let's go check out the magazine. Come on. Now, how much fun was that, folks? Brilliant, right? I think we should get into the magazine now. We haven't got all night. Come on, let's do it. So here's the contents page, obviously. There's our face-off between Commando and Rambo. That's coming up on page 16. There's that pull-out guide, the 64 sound guide, right in the center of the magazine. Just what you've been waiting for. A comprehensive survey of musical devices for the 64 and 128. There's some boring looking stuff over here. Need to send a secret message? You better read the first part of our feature on codes and ciphers. Mind Your Language. Do you remember Mind Your Language? Are we allowed to watch it anymore? Probably not, I would have thought. You don't have to be stuck with BASIC to program the 64. Why not try Pascal, Ada, the C language, or Prolog? No, boring. I want to play games. I'm not interested in any of that baloney. Kermit Goes to Disneyland. Educational software. Do me a favour. I want to have fun, not go back to school. Thanks very much. Ah, now look at that. Isn't that a great ad? Ultimate Play the Game. You've got Dragon Skull, Outlaws, Black Witch, and Imhotep. Now, these weren't Ultimate's best games, that's for sure, but goodness me, that cover artwork is fabulous, isn't it? You've got to have all of those in your collection if you're a serious 8-bit games collector. I bet you'd pay a small fortune for all of those nowadays. Oh look, and there's a little bit of holly, an acknowledgement that it's Christmas time. And it will soon be Christmas, won't it, folks? Where are we now? Middle of November? Have you started Christmas shopping yet? You better get on with it. What's this? The latest news? This looks a bit dry, doesn't it? Somebody winning a Commodore 128 there, lucky devil. Lucky winner John Lambshead grabs the box from Emma Sterling representing Commodore UK. He's had a long wait. Well, it was worth it, right? All good things come to those who wait. There's a lovely ad there for Comic Bakery from Imagine and Konami. Unmistakable Bob Wakelin artwork there. Beautiful, lovely colours. Oh, I never noticed the C and the B being loaves of bread before. Isn't that clever? Elite. The game of a lifetime. Do you know I never played the Commodore 64 version? Played the BBC Micro version, and then when it came out for the Commodore, I was already onto different games. I was never any good at the BBC Micro version, I can tell you that much. It did get a gold medal award in the first issue of Zap 64, didn't it? The feedback section on page 13, people writing in to get it off their chest. What's this one here? X certificate. Dear Commodore User, I read Darrell Webb's letter in the November issue and I think he is totally over the top. What right does he have to say what games people should or should not be allowed to play? My favourite games are Raid Over Moscow and Mad Doctor, but that doesn't mean I'm about to go dropping bombs on Russians or digging up bodies in the graveyard. Well, I hope not. A much better idea would be to have a certificate system like they do at the cinema, so people know what kind of games they are buying. For example, Palace Software's The Evil Dead would be X-rated, would it? But the Rupert Bear game would obviously get a U rating. Fair enough. Darrell Webb, he's really got it in for Darrell Webb, hasn't he? Darrell Webb also says that aliens might not like us much if they discover that we spend all our time blasting them on computers. Who cares? If you ask me, it's a good job we're getting all this practice in preparation for the real thing. P.D. Smithson, Welwyn Garden City, Hertfordshire. Well said, P.D. Smithson. I'm on your side. When those space invaders do arrive, we will be ready for them. 1985, the year in view. March. Software industry enters macho phase. US Gold releases Conan and Indiana Jones games, but neither managed to muscle into the charts. +4 prices slashed by half, still nobody buys it. May. Game based on finger-flicking 321 TV program is announced, but never released on humanitarian grounds. So that's an ad for a modem, right? $79.99 all in. Plus P&P and insurance. So not quite all in, but yeah, we get the idea. $79.99. Now you can buy a communications modem for your 64 or 128 direct from Commodore at an amazing price. Just $79.99. A small price to pay when you consider what the modem gives you. Most people's calls will be charged at local rates, only 40p per hour. It's great, isn't it? You can get on the internet. It's just like war games. You can be just like Matthew Broderick. Aha, here we go. This is the big showdown we've been waiting for. Rambo versus Commando. And I can see straight away that the Screen Star Award goes to Rambo, and I think rightly so, but hang on a minute, they are both brilliant. Anyway, if you're watching this video, you know that already. But let's just take a look at what they say. From the big screen to the monitor, we bring the war to end all wars. John Rambo squares up to Super Joe in an explosive confrontation that damn near left our 64 a burnt out Hulk. This wasn't just a muscle fight though. There's 2 big soundtracks locked in these games as well. So who had won when the smoke cleared? Well, they've mentioned the music already, haven't they? And let's face it, both were brilliant. Martin Galway doing the music for Rambo, Rob Hubbard turning in another classic soundtrack for Commando. Gameplay-wise, well, they were both all-out shooting, weren't they? But then Rambo had those extra sections, didn't it? The helicopter flying stages, the strategic part where you had to free the prisoners, whereas Commando was a straightforward vertical scroller, just killing as many baddies as you could. And then at the end of each level there was total mayhem for a few moments, wasn't there? But I think the problem with Commando that held it back on the Commodore 64 is they only managed to get 3 of the levels from the arcade, and there should have been 8 levels altogether. So that's a pity. Star ratings for the 2 games, well, Rambo gets 3 for graphics, Commando gets 4. Yeah, Commando's graphics were definitely better. The only thing is there was a lot of slowdown, right, when you had too many enemies on screen at once. Sound for both, I don't know why they've only given that 4, that's ridiculous. 5 out of 5 that should be. and definitely 5 out of 5 for this one. Both get a toughness rating of 4. Rambo gets a little bit more for staying power, I guess because of the added strategy bits and the helicopter stuff. Both get 4 out of 5 for value. The verdict. We undoubtedly have two biggies here. I'm exhausted from trying to review them. Who is reviewing them, by the way? Oh, it's Mike Passenden. All right, Mike. I'm exhausted from trying to review them, but I can just gather enough energy to award Rambo my commendation. What really swung it for Ocean was the strategy element, the sound, and that brilliant explosive arrow option that lets you go berserk and raise entire lumps of jungle to the ground. Super Joe will just have to be content with being mentioned in dispatches. Since we're so impressed by these two games, we've decided to give you the chance to play them both at home. All you have to do is take a picture of yourself dressed up as Rambo. You can do it funny or serious, but we wanted to see what you can come up with. Pictured left is Mike Pattenden's effort to look the part. We know you can do better, so get those pictures in the post as quick as possible. The best effort will get a special extra prize. Ooh, I wonder what that is. As a tiebreaker, please supply a hint or tip on a recent computer game. Oh, there's an ad for Now Games 2, and there's Now Games in the corner. What brilliant compilations those were. Now Games had Lords of Midnight, Brian Bloodaxe, Strange Loop, Pyjamarama, Tales of the Arabian Nights, and Falcon Patrol 2, all for only $8.95. That's amazing. And this follow-up, Now Games 2, Airwolf, Tir Na Nog, Cauldron, Chucky Egg 2, and World Cup. I mean, it just doesn't get much better, does it? All those brilliant classic games for under a tenner. Amazing. We were so lucky back then. What's this one? Chicken Chase. Oh, that's one of these £3.95 Firebird games. They came in those chunky white cases, didn't they? I like those. A lot of games out this month. Willow Pattern. There you go. There's another one. £3.95 on cassette from Firebird. 5 out of 5 for graphics. They do look nice, don't they? Looks a bit like Saberwolf, doesn't it? A hard game to fault, really. Great graphics, good oriental sound, and fun gameplay. I still don't like those plates. Wait a minute, what's this? The Last V8. What a great game. What do you mean 2 out of 5 for value? It was only £2.99. That was one of the first Mad Games releases, wasn't it? MAD, Mastertronic Added Dimension. You know, that was so tough. I reckon any kid playing that game nowadays would last about 3 seconds and then they'd just give up. It was one of the toughest games I ever played. When you actually managed to get through to the end of one of the levels, it just felt amazing. And it had speech, didn't it? But it was very, very muffled. It went something like... Now, Beyond Superman was a pretty diabolical effort, wasn't it? I do remember it came in one of those big yellow and red boxes with a nice big picture of Superman on the front. So presentation-wise, hard to fault it, but gameplay, nah, not good. This looks awful. If that's meant to be Metropolis, goodness me. Disappointment has to be the only verdict on Superman. According to the game blurb, it is the first of the Superpower collection. We can only hope the sequels will be better. It has also been billed as Beyond's premier title of 1985, which is a bigger shame because the game itself isn't half as good as Quake -1, Nexus, Shadowfire, and Enigma Force. Eugene Lacey telling it like it is. Oh, you gotta love Ocean. This Christmas, all the action from Ocean. Knight Rider, Rambo First Blood Part 2, Transformers, and Street Hawk. You know, folks, I have to tell you, if you have fond memories of computer games based on movies and TV shows and other licensed properties, then you really do need to check out my second book, The Book of the Game of the Film. I guarantee you'll like it. 300 full-colour pages of reviews and nostalgia. The only problem is there aren't any copies left. That's the third printing all sold out now, which I'm quite proud of actually. Should I do a fourth printing? It's a thought, isn't it? Wild West from Areola Soft. I remember one of the first cowboy games I played was Gunsmoke on the Acorn Electron. It was brilliant. Actually, now I think about it, that would be a good game to play for a Golem Telly episode. Okay, maybe I'll load it up soon and have a go. Friday the 13th, that was a dreadful game, wasn't it? Graphics 2, sound 3, 1 for everything else. That game came packaged with a blood capsule, didn't it? A foaming blood capsule that you could chew and it would look like you were bleeding to death. Could frighten your mum with it. Still not worth a tenner. Debug. That looks so dull, doesn't it? Debug is an educational game. The idea behind it runs, I think, something like this. If you let your kid sit down with his Commodore 64 and play games morning, noon and night, you'll end up with an Ace Games player with all the intelligence of an artichoke. But if you buy this game, they can have fun and learn at the same time. Nope, boring. We can tell, you know. We're not stupid. We know when you're trying to educate us. All we really want to do is jump over things and shoot stuff. Remember that. Couple of C16 games here, Tutti Frutti and Death Race 16. They're doing all right on the scores. Ken McMahon seems happy this month. My overall impression is that Death Race is a pretty good simulation. Certainly the best game of its kind for the C16. In fact, the only one, I think. Look at that, what a selection of games. Chiller, brilliant platform game. The Last V8 we've talked about already. And Spellbound and Finders Keepers. 2 Magic Night adventures. Yeah, back in the day, you could have had all 4 of those for under a tenner. That's amazing. Beware. January 86. The invasion is at hand. That's a very cool, cryptic ad. We know it's Ocean Software, don't we? And it's for V, the computer game. Check this out. Yak's Progress. A compilation of Jeff Minter games from Llamasoft. $11.95 on disc. Jeff Minter, or Yak as he sometimes likes to call himself, is not someone you can be indifferent about. For ages he was the programmer of Commodore machines in Britain, but recently he's come under savage attack in certain quarters. Has he? I don't remember that. Whether you're for him or agin him, you can't ignore the fact that he's made an important contribution in developing the art of the computer game. The modestly titled Yak's Progress is a compilation of Minter's 8 most famous games. You've got Attack of the Mutant Camels, amazing, Matrix, Laser Zone, Hover Bother, Revenge of the Mutant Camels, Sheep in Space, and Ancipital. That's amazing. 12 quid for all that lot. Minter's games look pretty raw, but this collection at least offers newcomers to the 64 a cheap way of experiencing the work of one of the industry's great personalities. Toughness 5, yeah, I'll go along with that. How can you give it only 4 out of 5 for value though? Do me a favour. Come on, Commodore User. So here's a preview for Rock and Wrestle, which was one of the touted follow-ups to The Way of the Exploding Fist. I think in the end there was something like 3 games that claimed to be the successor to Exploding Fist 1. You had Rock and Wrestle, which was considered to be the next big thing in fighting games. Of course, it was called Bop and Wrestle in America, which is a terrible title. Rock and Wrestle is far better. And then there was Fighting Warrior, which was a side-scrolling beat-em-up, and I liked it, although most people thought it was a bit okay. And then there was Fist 2, which I loved, even though it was bugged to hell. Tell you what though, in spite of those bugs, it's still one of the games I managed to complete on my Commodore 64. I'm very proud of that fact. There's a preview of Cauldron 2 as well, and if you want to know more about Cauldron 2, check out one of my previous videos, where I look at the June 1986 issue of Computer and Video Games magazine, which featured the witch from Cauldron 2 on the front cover. And while you're at it checking out my other videos, please remember to subscribe to Golem Telly. You'll be doing yourself a big favour, I'm telling you. There's a review of Underworld here, a belated arrival on the Commodore 64 of one of the classic Ultimate Play the Game titles, courtesy of Firebird in this case. And Chris Anderson seems pretty happy with it. Graphics 4, toughness 4, staying power 4. Didn't like the sound though. In my view, Underworld has stood the test of time remarkably well. When did that come out originally then for the Spectrum? Was it 1984? Another $3.95 Firebird title. This time it's Thunderbirds. Doesn't look like much, does it? But it was a pretty good game. The quality of Firebird's recent budget titles is good news for gamers. Most of them are a good deal better than Mastertronic. Ooh, and only for an extra £1. Yeah, and you get those lovely white chunky cases too. They're gorgeous. More previews here. Bounder coming up soon. Brilliant game, very difficult. And what's this one? Blade Runner. Famously based on the soundtrack by Vangelis rather than the movie itself. Hang on a minute. Blade Runner was the film that gave Harrison Ford his big break. What? Blade Runner came out in 1982, right? So, I'm going to have to say that a little-known movie called Star Wars in 1977 might just be the film that gave him his big break. And he was pretty unforgettable in The Empire Strikes Back in 1980 as well. And if neither of those movies were good enough, then there's always Raiders of the Lost Ark from 1981. So that might be the most ridiculous thing I've read in any computer game magazine ever. A review of Gyroscope, the kind of Marble Madness lookalike. 5 out of 5 for graphics. You know what? With hindsight, they're not actually that good, are they? I think we all got a bit carried away because they were 3D. But it's pretty bland, really, isn't it? Look at that. Winter Games and Revs. There were just so many classic games available around the end of 1985, beginning of 1986. Brilliant time to be a computer gamer. Ooh, win a trip to the Monte Carlo Grand Prix 1986. Yes, please. Into the Valley. Into the Valley. Skids, right? Remember? Richard Jobson? Stuart Adamson? Anyway, this is a different Into the Valley. It's the adventure section. Oh yeah, the never-ending story. Didn't they say on the cover there was a competition to win a copy? The Worm in Paradise. Seas of Blood. That's one of those fighting fantasy gamebook adaptations, isn't it? Here we go. Win never-ending story. There's everything to lose and nothing to win in this month's teaser. What? Thanks to the generosity of the crew at Ocean who've chosen to celebrate the launch of their first ever adventure title. Oh, did that come out before Hunchback the Adventure? It must have done. Who recorded the title music? Was it Vangelis, Phil Oakey, or Limahl? Well, it wasn't Vangelis, and it wasn't Phil Oakey. That was Together in Electric Dreams. It was Limahl, wasn't it? Never ending story. La 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 la. You remember? Okay, the adventure charts this month. Robin of Sherwood at the top. Robin, the Hooded Man. The Never Ending Story, new in at number 2. There's Adrian Mole, down 2 to number 4. I sound like Bruno Brooks, don't I? Oh, Terra Molinos. I love that game. It's one of the first games I played on the Commodore 64. Fantastic text adventure. It's all about having a package holiday to Spain. Brilliant fun. Super Gran. There you go. There's Hunchback the Adventure. So they kind of came out around about the same time. In the beginning was Quasimodo, then came his revenge. Now you can take a swing into Hunchback the Adventure. And here's our free pull-out sound guide. My God, look at all of this equipment here. I hope they haven't got all that plugged into one socket. There are the boys from Heaven 17. The musical core of Heaven 17 is Ian Craig Marsh and Martin Ware, who were 2 original members of the Human League. When Phil Oakey took the League off to become a pop group with the classic album Dare, Ware and Marsh stayed behind, recruited vocalist Glenn Gregory and had a dance floor hit with Fascist Groove Thing. You're bound to have heard their biggest hits like Temptation and Come Live With Me. Fantastic stuff. Love that. So lots of different music utilities. There's a nice double page ad for Beyond Software. Spy vs. Spy, wow. Brilliant games. There's Superman with Darkseid on the back. Enigma Force. And what's this one? That's Sorderon's Shadow, isn't it? Yeah. That never came out for the Commodore, I don't think. Or did it? Yeah, Spectrum only, look. Oh, look. What's this in the middle? Wow, do you remember these? For Commodore 64 owners, choose 3 items from only 75p each. Yeah, okay. But then, of course, you've got to subscribe and buy stuff every month, right? Looks pretty tempting, though. A few good games there for next to nothing. Hamstead, 75p. The Hobbit on disc for £3.50. A few books there as well to choose from. The Home Computer Club. Send no money now. I definitely had that. This rubbishy little plastic keyboard you could stick over the top of your Commodore 64. It was styled like a bull-nosed Commodore 64 though, so it looked pretty cool actually. But it was rubbish. Oh, this stuff's all pretty dull, I think. Hardware. Temple of Apshai Trilogy. I never played those. Oh, here's the Commodore 64 chart for this month. Winter Games at the top, Monty on the Run just behind. What a list of games this is, wow. Who Dares Wins 2, amazing. Summer Games 2, classic. Way of the Exploding Fist, I think I bought all of these. This is about the time I first had my Commodore 64, so I was buying everything. I bought Action Biker in Watford. Racing Destruction Set, I remember playing that at my friend Leon's house. A few simulations there, but too dry for my tastes. Here's a type-in listing for the Commodore 16 and Plus 4. Blockade. No thanks. Astro Belts. Star Wars-y game for the Commodore 64. Your task is simply to avoid the onslaught of asteroids. Actually, they're very impressive multicoloured sprites. Oh, thanks for pointing that out. As opposed to being real asteroids. Some more adventure titles here. I was never into these at the time. I know they're worth an absolute fortune now, though. That doesn't look very nice, does it? Lucifer's Realm. And Masquerade. I think I've got a copy of that upstairs, but I've never played it. Naughty me. One day. Business section here. I think we'll skip past that. Secret Service. Oh, this is the part about codes and ciphers. Nope, that's not for us. We'll pretend it's not there. Loads of ads at the back. The classified section. I used to work in classified ads when I was first in sales. What's this ad for Rambo doing right at the back in amongst all the rubbishy classified ads? Maybe it was a freebie. A filler. Mind your language. Oh yeah, we know what that's all about. Boring. So that's odd again, isn't it? Some full colour, full page ads right at the back, sort of shoved in with all the classifieds. As I say, from my days working in advertising, I remember that when it was getting close to deadline, we would just stick anything we could in the empty spaces that we hadn't managed to sell yet. Whoops. The Young Ones. I'll have to do the Young Ones book one day for a Golem Telly episode. Fancy that? I don't know how I'm going to do it and make it U-rated, but I'll find a way. Okay, we're getting close to the end now. Education section. Yawn. The Happy Hacker. Nah, not for me. Well, there's another one from Imagine this time. Ye Are Kung Fu, the arcade smash comes home. Also for the BBC Micro for £9.95. Laser Basic, make your own games. So next month, what do we got coming up next month? The GeForce won't be joining in the festivities this Christmas. Oh, they have a bag full of game reviews to keep them glued to the screen. Oh, well, that's not so bad. Big games like Desert Fox, Rock and Wrestle, please Melbourne House, please. Zoids, please Martech, and Ye Are Kung Fu. Plus reviews of all the latest games under development, including a sneak view of V and several others. And what's on the back cover? Oh, it's Time Tunnel. Now I remember getting this one. I'll tell you exactly when I bought this one. Well, almost exactly. It was from Dixon's in Brent Cross Shopping Centre one Saturday afternoon in early 1986. And I know that because I met up with my good friend Darren Fox recently, and he told me he'd found his diary from 1986, and in an entry one Saturday morning he described bumping into me at Brent Cross just outside Dixon's, and I had just bought Time Tunnel and I was very excited about it. Anyway, the game itself was alright. It was a sort of collect 'em up, and you had to go to different time periods. And that's the Green Goblin, isn't it? Shamelessly stolen from the pages of a Spider-Man comic. Explore the depths of history, travel to the far distant future, assemble the mystical map from the 7 ages of mankind, I'm doing this upside down, and become King of the Gnomes. Probably the best arcade adventure ever produced in the USA. Well, that's a bold claim. Okay, folks, well, I think that's about it, isn't it? We've had fun tonight. Looking at the magazine, listening to some music. I suggest we head on over to Camera One now and bring the curtain down on tonight's show. Well now, that was a treat and a half, wasn't it? Thank you so much for joining me tonight. I really do appreciate it. If you could like and share this video, that would be very gracious of you. And if you could subscribe to Golem Telly if you haven't done so already, well, that would mark you out as an elite person. I'll be back 3 or 4 days from now with yet another show. In the meantime, please enjoy the rest of your evening, and I look forward to seeing you again very soon.
Evening shadows deepen, world around is sleeping, everyone's departed.